Captain Veltar stood on the bridge of his warship and looked at the stars. His ship was huge. It was 3,000 meters long and had enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Around him, 11 other ships just like his floated in space. They were the pride of the Zephyrian Empire. Nothing in the galaxy could stand against them. Today was supposed to be easy work. The Galactic Council had sent them to meet some new species called humans. These humans lived on a small blue planet near the edge of the galaxy. They had only just learned how to travel between stars. Their biggest ships were smaller than Zephyrian shuttles. "Sir," said his second-in-command, Officer Crix, "we have been watching these humans for 3 years now. They are not advanced. Their weapons use old chemical technology. Their ships are made of simple metal. They should not be a problem." Veltar nodded. He had read all the reports. Humans were like most young species. They fought each other a lot. They were aggressive and stubborn, but they were also weak. Their technology was thousands of years behind the Zephyrian Empire. The humans had asked for a meeting. They wanted to join the Galactic Council. It was almost funny. These primitive creatures thought they could sit at the same table as the great powers of the galaxy. They wanted to show their fleet to prove they were ready. "How many ships are they bringing?" Veltar asked. "Just one, sir," Crix replied. "Our long-range scanners show a single vessel. It is about 800 meters long. Very small compared to our dreadnoughts." Veltar almost felt sorry for them. The Galactic Council always did this with new species. They would send a massive fleet to intimidate the newcomers. Then they would offer them a choice: join as a minor member or be destroyed. Most species chose to join. The smart ones did, anyway. The meeting place was in an asteroid field. It was neutral space, halfway between human territory and the nearest Zephyrian outpost. Veltar's fleet would arrive first. They would show their power. The humans would see 12 massive warships and understand their place in the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump," Veltar ordered. The space around his fleet began to twist and bend. Reality folded in on itself. Then, in a flash of light, they were somewhere else. The asteroid field stretched out before them. Rocks the size of buildings floated slowly through space. And there, waiting for them, was the human ship. Veltar looked at it through his main viewer. It was dark against the stars. The hull was smooth and black. He could see no obvious weapons, no shield generators, no massive engines like the ones on Zephyrian ships. It looked more like a cargo transport than a warship. "Begin scanning," he ordered. His science officer, Kixnall, worked at her station. She was one of the best scanner operators in the fleet. If anyone could learn the secrets of the human ship, it was her. "Sir," she said after a few minutes, "I am getting strange readings." "What kind of strange?" "The hull is made of an unknown material. It is much denser than our armor. And the energy signature is very low, almost like the ship is absorbing our scanner beams instead of reflecting them." Veltar frowned. That was unusual. Most ships showed up clearly on scanners. This human vessel was almost invisible to their sensors. "Any weapons?" he asked. "None that I can detect, sir. No plasma cannons, no missile tubes, no energy projectors. It looks like a peaceful ship." Veltar relaxed a little. Maybe the humans were smarter than he thought. Maybe they had brought a civilian ship to avoid a fight. That would make things easier. He could deliver the standard terms for surrender without any blood being spilled. He opened a communication channel. He was about to speak when something caught his eye. The human ship was moving, not toward his fleet, not away from it. It was turning slowly, rotating on its central axis. "Sir," Kixnall said, her voice worried, "the ship is changing." As the human vessel turned, Veltar began to see details that had been hidden before. What he had thought was a smooth, simple hull was actually something much more complex. There were lines and seams all over the surface, panels and sections that looked like they could open. "Sir," Kixnall said again, "I think those are weapon ports." Veltar stared at the human ship. It was still turning slowly. More and more details became visible. What had looked like a peaceful transport was starting to look like something else entirely. "Get me a full structural scan," he ordered. "Sir, I am trying, but their hull is blocking most of our scans. It is like they designed it specifically to hide from our sensors." The human ship completed its turn. Now Veltar could see writing on the hull. His computer translated the human letters. 3 words appeared on his screen. UES consequences. That was an odd name for a peaceful ship. In Zephyrian culture, ships were named after beautiful things: flowers, music, art. But consequences sounded more like a threat. "Sir," his weapons officer called out, "I am detecting movement on the human ship. Something is happening to their hull." Veltar watched in growing alarm. The smooth panels on the human ship were sliding apart. Sections of the hull were folding, back like flower petals. And underneath he could see the true nature of the vessel. Gun barrels emerged from hidden ports, massive thick tubes that looked designed to throw heavy projectiles at incredible speeds. Missile launchers unfolded from concealed bays. Dozens of smaller weapons sprouted from every surface. Point defense guns that tracked and targeted automatically. "By the 7 moons," Crix whispered. "It is not a transport at all." The human ship was transforming before their eyes. What had looked like a simple civilian vessel was revealing itself to be one of the most heavily armed ships Veltar had ever seen. And it was still changing. "Sir," Kixnall reported, her voice shaking, "energy signatures are spiking. The power readings I am getting now are impossible." This ship has been hiding its true capabilities. More weapons emerged, energy projectors that glowed with contained fury, railguns that could accelerate projectiles to significant fractions of light speed, torpedo tubes that looked capable of launching planet-killing warheads. "How many weapons does that thing have?" Veltar asked. "I count over 200 separate weapon systems, sir, and that is just what I can see. There may be more hidden inside the hull." Veltar felt his stomach drop. His dreadnought had 50 weapon systems. It was considered one of the most powerful ships in the galaxy. This human vessel had 4 times as many guns, and they all looked more advanced than anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the human ship." "Put it on screen." The view screen flickered. The face that appeared was unlike anything Veltar had seen before. The human was old, with short gray hair and scars on his face. His eyes were hard and cold. This was someone who had seen many battles and won them all. "I am Admiral Chen of the United Earth Space Command," the human said. His voice was calm and steady. "I assume you are here for our membership evaluation." Veltar tried to find his voice. "Your ship appears to be more advanced than our intelligence," suggested. Admiral Chen smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "The Consequences is a Retribution-class heavy cruiser. She is our diplomatic ship." Diplomatic? Veltar could not hide his confusion. This was the most heavily armed vessel he had ever encountered. How could they call it diplomatic? In human space, Admiral, diplomacy is the art of saying "nice doggy" while you look for a bigger stick. Chen paused. "The Consequences is a very big stick." Veltar looked at his tactical display. His weapons officer was frantically updating threat assessments. The human ship could destroy his entire fleet. Its armor could withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. Its weapons could punch through energy shields like they were made of paper. "How many ships like this do you have?" Veltar asked. He dreaded the answer. Admiral Chen's smile grew wider. "That is classified, Captain. But I will say this. Every species we have encountered so far has asked that same question." Veltar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had encountered other species, and judging by Admiral Chen's confidence, those encounters had gone well for humanity. "We were told that humans were a primitive species," Veltar said. "We were," Chen replied. "A few hundred years ago, We were fighting each other with swords and spears, but we learned fast, and we have always been very good at war. On the tactical display, more information was coming in. The human ship's missile systems alone could destroy half his fleet. Its main guns could punch holes through a planet, and according to the scans, this was just a single ship. "Your vessel seems designed for destruction," Veltar observed. "Yes," Chen said simply. "We build our ships to end fights quickly. We have learned that the best way to prevent war is to be so dangerous that no one wants to fight you." Veltar was beginning to understand. The humans had not sent a primitive transport to beg for membership. They had sent a warning. This ship was a demonstration of human power, a message to the galaxy that humanity was not weak. "We should begin the evaluation," Chen said. "Unless you would prefer to withdraw?" Veltar looked at his fleet. 12 dreadnoughts that had been the pride of the Zephyrian Empire. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds. Ships that now looked small and weak compared to the human vessel floating before them. "No," he said finally. "We will proceed with the evaluation." Chen nodded. "Good. Shall we begin with a demonstration of defensive capabilities?" Before Veltar could answer, the human ship's point defense systems came online. Hundreds of small turrets emerged from the hull. They moved with incredible speed and precision, tracking imaginary targets. The targeting computers painted Veltar's ships with laser designators. The message was clear. The consequences could destroy his entire fleet in minutes. "Impressive," Veltar managed to say. "That is just the beginning," Chen replied. "Would you like to see our offensive capabilities?" Veltar was not sure he did, but he nodded anyway. He had to know what humanity was capable of. The galaxy needed to know. The human ship began to power up its main weapons. Energy readings spiked to levels that should have been impossible. The main guns rotated to point at a nearby asteroid. It was a rock the size of a small moon. "Fire," Chen ordered. The consequences unleashed a single shot. A projectile moving at incredible speed struck the asteroid. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the entire rock exploded into dust and debris. Where there had been a small moon, now there was nothing but empty space. Veltar stared at the empty space where the asteroid had been. His ships could damage such a rock. It would take dozens of shots in several minutes. The humans had destroyed it with a single projectile. "That was our main kinetic cannon," Chen explained. "We have 12 of them, 12 weapons that could destroy moons." Veltar felt his confidence crumbling. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy for 1,000 years. Their ships were feared throughout known space, but compared to this human vessel, they were children playing with toys. "We should discuss terms," Veltar said weakly. "Terms?" Chen looked confused. "We are not here to negotiate surrender, Captain. We are here to join the Galactic Council as equals." Equals. The word hit Veltar like a physical blow. The humans did not want to be protected. They did not want to be junior members. They wanted to sit at the high table with the great powers of the galaxy. And after seeing the consequences, Veltar knew they had earned that right. The evaluation process was unlike anything Veltar had experienced in his 40 years of military service. Every test the Galactic Council used to measure new species was designed around known technology. Plasma weapons, energy shields, gravity, drives. The humans used none of these things. Instead, they had developed weapons and defenses that operated on completely different principles. "Show us your shield technology," Veltar requested, reading from the standard evaluation protocol. "Admiral," Chen looked amused. "We do not use energy shields, Captain. We found them inefficient." "Then how do you protect your ships?" "Armor," Chen said simply, "and point defense systems." Veltar frowned. Armor was primitive. Every advanced species had moved beyond physical protection centuries ago. Energy shields could stop any projectile or beam weapon. Why would the humans stick with outdated technology? "Demonstrate your armor's effectiveness," Veltar said. "Very well. Target one of our secondary hull sections with your plasma cannons." Use half power. Veltar hesitated. Even at half power, Zephyrian plasma cannons could melt through a kilometer of solid rock. He did not want to accidentally destroy the human ship and start a war. You are certain? Quite certain, Captain. Fire. When ready, Veltar gave the order. One of his dreadnoughts unleashed a plasma blast at the consequences. The beam struck the human ship's hull and spread across the surface like water hitting stone. For several seconds, the armor glowed white-hot. Then the energy dissipated, leaving no visible damage. Interesting, Chen observed. Your plasma weapons operate at approximately 15 million degrees. Our armor is rated for temperatures up to 50 million degrees. Veltar stared at his scanner readings. The human ship had absorbed enough energy to power a small city for a year. The armor had not even been scratched. How is that possible? We learned early in our space age that the best defense is not to deflect an attack, but to absorb it. Our armor contains layers of materials that can store and dissipate incredible amounts of energy. What does not get absorbed is distributed across the entire hull. His science officer, Kixnall, was working frantically at her station. Sir, the human ship's hull temperature is already returning to normal. Whatever energy the armor absorbed, it is dispersing it somehow. Heat sinks, Chen explained. The absorbed energy is converted to waste heat and radiated away through specialized systems built into the hull. A single section of our armor can absorb direct hits from weapons much more powerful than your plasma cannons. Veltar was beginning to understand why humans did not use energy shields. Their armor was better, more reliable, harder to overload or penetrate. What about your weapons? He asked. We saw your kinetic cannon destroy the asteroid, but surely you have energy weapons as well. We do, Chen confirmed, but we prefer kinetic systems for ship-to-ship combat. Why? Energy weapons are more efficient. They travel at light speed. They cannot be intercepted. Chen smiled that cold smile again. Energy weapons can be deflected by shields. They can be absorbed by armor. But a tungsten rod moving at 30% of light speed cannot be stopped by anything except direct impact with a target. Veltar felt his blood run cold. 30% of light speed. The kinetic energy of such a projectile would be enormous. No shield could stop it. No armor could absorb it. Your main guns fire solid projectiles at relativistic speeds? Our main guns, yes. But we have other weapons as well. Would you like a demonstration? Before Veltar could answer, the consequences rotated to face another asteroid. This one was smaller than the first, only a few hundred meters across. Admiral Chen spoke a single word into his communicator. Swarm. Dozens of missiles launched from hidden ports on the human ship. But these were not normal missiles. As they flew toward the asteroid, each one split into smaller projectiles. Those split again and again. What had started as dozens of missiles became hundreds, then thousands of smaller warheads. The swarm of micro-missiles reached the asteroid and began impacting the surface. Each explosion was small, but there were so many of them. Within seconds, the entire rock was being torn apart from within. The asteroid collapsed into rubble. Then the rubble was pulverized into dust. Cluster munitions, Chen explained. Each missile carries 50 sub-munitions. Each sub-munition carries 10 micro-warheads, very effective against large targets. Veltar watched the cloud of dust that had once been solid rock. How many of those missiles do you carry? Classified, Chen replied. But I will say this. We have enough ammunition to fight a sustained battle for several weeks without resupply. Several weeks. Veltar's ships carried enough ammunition for perhaps 6 hours of combat. After that, they would need to return to base to rearm. The human ship could fight for weeks without support. Your range? Veltar asked. Our kinetic weapons are effective at distances up to half a light year, Chen said casually. Our missile systems have no practical range limit. Veltar nearly fell out of his command chair. Half a light year. That was further than most ships. Could travel in hyperspace before needing to stop and recalculate their position. The humans could engage targets from distances so great that the enemy would not even know they were under attack. That is impossible. Kixnall whispered. No targeting system can be accurate at such ranges. Ours can, Chen said. We use a combination of predictive algorithms and real-time data from scout drones. Our targeting computers can calculate the position of a moving target up to 6 months in advance. 6 months. The humans could fire at a target and hit it half a year later, compensating for all the movement and course changes the target might make in that time. Your technology, Veltar said slowly, is far more advanced than we were told. We are good at hiding our capabilities, Chen agreed. Most species see what we want them to see. Primitive chemical rockets, simple metal hulls, basic radio communications. They assume we are backwards and weak. But you are not. No, Captain, we are not. Veltar looked at his fleet. 12 of I. The most powerful warships in known space, ships that had conquered star systems and destroyed entire civilizations. But compared to this single human vessel, they were nothing. Toys, relics of a more primitive age. How long have you been spacefaring? He asked. We achieved faster-than-light travel 200 years ago, Chen replied. Before that, we spent 300 years developing our technology within our own star system. 500 years. That was nothing compared to the millennia the Zephyrian Empire had been traveling between stars. Yet in that short time, humans had developed technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. You learn quickly, Veltar observed. We had to, Chen said, and for the first time his expression grew serious. Our home system is surrounded by hostile territory. When we first achieved interstellar travel, we encountered 17 different species. 16 of them tried to conquer or destroy us. And the 17th? They became our allies after seeing what happened to the other 16. Veltar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans had fought 16 different species and won. No wonder their ships were so heavily armed. No wonder their technology was so advanced. They had been forced to become the galaxy's apex predators just to survive. The species you fought, Veltar said carefully. What happened to them? Some learned to respect human territory and signed peace treaties. Others continued to be aggressive and had to be dealt with more permanently. Dealt with permanently. Veltar understood what that meant. Some species no longer existed because they had underestimated humanity. We are not conquerors, Captain, Chen continued. We do not seek to rule over other species. We simply want to be left alone. But we have learned that the only way to ensure peace is to be so powerful that no one dares disturb it. The communication was interrupted by an alarm from Veltar's sensor station. Kixnall was staring at her displays in shock. Sir, she called out, I am detecting multiple hyperspace signatures. Something big is coming. Admiral Chen checked his own displays. Ah, right on time. What is coming? Veltar demanded. The rest of the diplomatic mission, Chen replied calmly. Space began to twist and bend around them. Reality folded as massive objects emerged from hyperspace. One ship appeared, then another, then a dozen more. Veltar stared in horror as a human fleet materialized around them. Each ship was different in design, but all were clearly built for war. Some were long and sleek, bristling with missile tubes. Others were broad and heavy, covered in armor plating and gun turrets. A few were strange angular shapes that hurt to look at, their hulls seeming to bend light around them. How many ships? He whispered. 47, Chen replied. This is Battle Group 7, a standard diplomatic escort. A diplomatic escort. 47 ships that could probably destroy every fleet in the galaxy. And the humans called it a standard escort. Sir, Kixnall reported, her voice barely controlled, I am reading over 3,000 separate weapon systems. The combined firepower of that fleet could sterilize a planet. Actually, Chen corrected, we could sterilize several planets. But we prefer not to. Environmental destruction is wasteful. One of the new ships was moving closer. It was enormous, easily twice the size of Veltar's dreadnought. As it approached, sections of its hull began to open, revealing weapons that made the consequences look lightly armed. That is the UES Reckoning, Chen explained. Our flagship. She mounts our latest generation of Planet Cracker weapons. Planet Cracker? Weapons designed to destroy planets from orbit. We developed them after encountering a species that hid their military installations underground. Rather than waste time with orbital bombardment, we found it more efficient to simply crack the planet open and examine the core. Veltar could not speak. The humans had weapons that could destroy entire worlds, not just life on the surface, but the actual physical planet. They could crack a world like an egg and examine its contents. Why? He finally managed to ask. Why build such terrible weapons? Because sometimes terrible problems require terrible solutions, Chen replied. 3 years ago, we encountered a species called the Devourers. They consumed all organic matter on the planets they conquered. They could not be reasoned with. They could not be stopped by conventional weapons. So we developed unconventional weapons. What happened to the Devourers? They are extinct, Chen said simply. We cracked their homeworld and destroyed their entire civilization in a single day. It was the only way to stop them from consuming more innocent species. The human fleet was now fully deployed around them. Veltar's 12 dreadnoughts were completely surrounded by ships that could destroy them with ease. But the humans made no threatening moves. They simply waited, their weapons powered but not targeted. This is a very large escort for a diplomatic mission, Veltar observed. We have learned that diplomacy works better when backed by overwhelming force, Chen replied. Most species are more willing to negotiate when they understand the consequences of refusing. Consequences, like the name of Chen's ship. Veltar was beginning to understand human thinking. They did not threaten. They did not bluster. They simply demonstrated what would happen if negotiations failed. Your species, Veltar said slowly, approaches diplomacy unlike any other. We approach everything unlike any other species, Chen replied. We have to. We are surrounded by enemies. We are outnumbered 1,000,000 to 1. The only reason we survive is because we are more dangerous than anything else in the galaxy. More dangerous than anything else in the galaxy. Veltar looked at the human fleet surrounding his ships. 47 vessels, each one a masterpiece of destructive engineering, ships that could fight for weeks without resupply, weapons that could destroy planets, armor that could absorb the full power of a star. We should begin the formal evaluation, Chen said. Unless you have seen enough? Veltar looked at his crew. They were all staring at the human ships with expressions of fear and awe. These were veteran soldiers who had fought in dozens of battles, but they had never seen anything like this. We have seen enough, Veltar said quietly. Good, Chen replied. Then let us discuss terms for human membership in the Galactic Council. Terms, not requests, not applications. Terms. The humans were not asking to join the council. They were telling the galaxy what their membership would look like. Veltar realized that everything had changed. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in a single moment. Humanity had just announced that they were no longer the weak, primitive species everyone thought they were. They were something much more dangerous. The formal evaluation continued for 6 more hours. During that time, Veltar witnessed demonstrations of technology that challenged everything he thought he knew about warfare. The human fleet showed capabilities that seemed to violate the basics, laws of physics. Our next test involves defensive systems, Veltar announced, reading from the evaluation protocol. Please demonstrate your ability to defend against multiple simultaneous attacks. Admiral Chen nodded to his communications officer. Across the human fleet, ships began to move into formation. But it was not like any formation Veltar had ever seen. Instead of arranging themselves in neat lines or geometric patterns, the human ships scattered seemingly at random. Some moved close together. Others drifted far apart. A few disappeared entirely, becoming invisible to sensors. What formation is this? Veltar asked. We call it adaptive clustering, Chen replied. Each ship is positioned to provide maximum defensive coverage while minimizing the chance that a single weapon can damage multiple vessels. Veltar studied the formation on his tactical display. It looked chaotic, but as he watched, he began to see the pattern. Every ship was positioned to cover the blind spots of its neighbors. Weapons arcs overlapped in complex ways. No matter which direction an attack came from, at least 6 human ships would be able to respond. Interesting, he admitted. But how do you coordinate such a complex formation during battle? We do not, Chen said. Each ship operates independently, following basic rules of engagement. No central command is required. No central command. Veltar was shocked. Every space navy he knew used centralized battle management. Orders flowed from flagship to escort vessels. Destroying the command ship usually meant the end of the fleet's coordination. How can you fight effectively without central coordination? Our commanders are trained to think for themselves, Chen explained. Every captain knows the mission objectives and is free to pursue them as they see fit. This makes our fleets very difficult to predict or counter. A demonstration began. The human ships launched thousands of practice missiles at each other. The projectiles were not armed, but they moved at combat speeds and followed realistic attack patterns. Veltar watched in amazement as the defensive systems responded. Point defense turrets tracked and destroyed incoming missiles with incredible accuracy. Some ships launched counter-missiles that intercepted attacks far from their targets. Others used energy weapons to detonate warheads before they could reach their destination. A few vessels deployed clouds of metallic chaff that confused guidance systems and caused missiles to miss entirely. Success rate? Chen asked his tactical officer. 96% interception, sir. The remaining 4% were stopped by armor. 96%. Veltar's best defense systems could stop perhaps 60% of incoming missiles, and that was against known weapon types. The human systems had stopped nearly everything thrown at them. How many attacks can you defend against simultaneously? Veltar asked. We have never found our limit, Chen replied. Our record is defending against over 10,000 incoming missiles in a single engagement. 10,000 missiles. Veltar's entire fleet could not carry that many weapons. The humans had faced attacks that would overwhelm any known defense system and survived. The species that attacked you with 10,000 missiles, Veltar said carefully. What happened to them? They learned not to attack human ships, Chen said. His tone suggested the lesson had been expensive. The next test involved offensive capabilities. The human fleet selected a large asteroid as their target. This one was several kilometers across and made of dense metallic ore. It would take Veltar's entire fleet working together to destroy such a massive object. Demonstrate your ability to engage a hardened target, Veltar requested. Certainly, Chen replied. What level of destruction would you like to see? What levels are available? We can disable the target, damage it severely, destroy it completely, or vaporize it entirely. 4 levels of destruction. Most weapons had only 2 settings, on and off. The humans apparently had fine control over exactly how much damage they inflicted. Show us complete destruction, Veltar decided. Admiral Chen spoke into his communicator. All ships, target the asteroid. Coordinated bombardment. Level 3 destruction. The human fleet opened fire, but it was not the chaotic barrage Veltar expected. Instead, each ship fired in carefully timed sequence. Kinetic rounds struck the asteroid first, cracking its structure. Energy beams followed, heating the cracks until they widened. Missiles impacted next, their explosions driving wedges deep into the fractures. The asteroid held together for nearly 30 seconds. Then it came apart all at once, breaking into thousands of pieces that scattered in all directions. But the human fleet was not finished. Secondary weapons engaged, tracking and destroying the larger fragments. Within minutes, nothing remained but a cloud of dust and metal particles. Impressive coordination, Veltar observed. Each ship's targeting computer is linked to the others, Chen explained. They calculate the most efficient firing sequence. automatically. No human input required. Automated battle management. The human ships could coordinate their attacks without any orders from their commanders. They thought and fought as a single entity while maintaining the independence to adapt to changing situations. Your computers are very advanced, Veltar said. We have been developing artificial intelligence for over a century, Chen replied. Our battle computers can process information and make decisions faster than any biological mind. Artificial intelligence. Most species avoided such technology, thinking machines were dangerous. They could turn against their creators. But the humans seem to have mastered the art of building loyal artificial minds. Are you not concerned that your machines might rebel? Our AIs are not slaves, Chen said. They are partners. We treat them with respect, and they serve willingly. Some of our best ship commanders are artificial intelligences, AI ship commanders. Veltar tried to imagine a battle computer with the authority to make command decisions. The idea was terrifying and fascinating at the same time. The evaluation moved to the next phase, mobility and speed. The human ships began to demonstrate their movement capabilities, and once again, they defied conventional understanding. Our hyperspace drives, Chen began, operate on principles different from yours. How so? Most species create a bubble of folded space around their ships. They travel through hyperspace like submarines moving underwater. Our drives work differently. One of the human ships vanished, not slowly, like a normal hyperspace jump. It simply disappeared instantly, leaving no energy signature or gravitational disturbance. Where did it go? Veltar demanded. Nowhere, Chen replied. It is still here. The ship reappeared suddenly, in a completely different position. It had moved several thousand kilometers in the blink of an eye. Micro-jumps, Chen explained. Our drives can fold space in very small increments. We can appear to teleport across short distances without entering hyperspace. Teleportation. The human ships could disappear and reappear at will. No weapon could target them effectively if they could vanish between 1 second and the next. Range? Veltar asked weakly. Within a star system, unlimited. Our drives can micro-jump continuously without any cooling period or energy buildup. Unlimited range teleportation. The human ships could appear anywhere in a star system instantly. They could attack from any direction, disappear before return fire could reach them, and reappear somewhere else to attack again. This technology, Veltar said, it gives you an enormous tactical advantage. Yes, Chen agreed. It also makes us very difficult to blockade or trap. Any human ship can escape from any situation simply by jumping away. More ships began demonstrating the micro-jump technology. They flickered in and out of existence like ghosts. One moment they were in formation, the next they were scattered across the asteroid field. Then they were back in formation as if they had never moved. Training time? Veltar asked. Our pilots begin practicing micro-jumps as soon as they learn. To fly, Chen replied. By the time they graduate to combat ships, they can perform jumps as naturally as turning or accelerating. Every human pilot was trained in teleportation combat. Veltar imagined trying to fight an enemy that could appear and disappear at will. It would be like fighting shadows. The final test was perhaps the most disturbing. The human fleet demonstrated their intelligence-gathering capabilities. Within minutes, they had scanned every ship in Veltar's fleet. They knew the armor thickness, weapon loadouts, crew complement, and energy reserves of every Zephyrian vessel. How? Veltar asked. Passive scanning, Chen explained. Our sensors can analyze the gravitational fields, electromagnetic emissions, and subspace distortions created by your ships. We can determine internal structure without sending active scanner beams. They had been scanned without knowing it. The humans had complete intelligence on his fleet while keeping their own capabilities hidden. It was like fighting blind against an enemy who could see everything. What else can your sensors detect? Life signs, emotional states, individual biometric patterns. We can identify specific crew members and track their movements throughout your ships. They could see inside his ships. They knew how many people were aboard, where they were located, even what they were feeling. Privacy was impossible against human sensors. Your technology, Veltar said slowly, is far beyond anything we imagine possible. We had good teachers, Chen replied. Every species that tried to destroy us taught us something new. We learned from their weapons, their tactics, their mistakes. Each victory made us stronger. The humans had grown powerful by absorbing the knowledge of their enemies. Every battle had been a learning experience. Every defeated foe had contributed to human advancement. The species you encountered when you first reached the stars, Veltar said. You said 16 of them tried to destroy you. What were they like? Chen's expression darkened. Predators. All of them. They saw a young species with primitive technology and thought we would be easy prey. They were wrong. What made you different? We refused to be victims, Chen said simply. Most young species panic when faced with superior enemies. They try to hide or surrender or seek protection from stronger powers. We chose to fight. Against impossible odds. Yes, we were outnumbered, outgunned, and out-technologied. But we had one advantage our enemies did not expect. What advantage? We were willing to do anything to survive. Anything at all. The way Chen said those words made Veltar's blood run cold. There was something dark in the Admiral's tone, something that spoke of terrible decisions made in desperate times. The first species that attacked us were called the hegemony, Chen continued. They had conquered over 100 worlds. Their fleets were vast. Their technology was advanced. They thought humanity would surrender after the first battle. But you did not. No. We fought them on Earth, in space, on every world they tried to take. When conventional weapons failed, we developed new ones. When their shields stopped our missiles, we invented weapons that ignored shields. When their armor protected them from our guns, we created projectiles that could punch through anything. How long did the war last? 12 years. In the end, the hegemony no longer existed. We had destroyed every ship, conquered every world, eliminated every trace of their civilization. Total extinction. The humans had not just defeated their enemies. They had erased them from existence. Was that necessary? Veltar asked. They gave us no choice, Chen replied. The hegemony did not believe in surrender. They would have fought until every human was dead. So we ensured that every member of the hegemony died first. The asteroid field around them suddenly felt very cold. Veltar was in the presence of a species that had committed genocide to ensure their own survival. And judging by Admiral Chen's calm demeanor, they felt no guilt about it. The other 15 species, Veltar said carefully, did they all meet the same fate? Some learned wisdom and survived, Chen replied. Others did not. How many species had humanity destroyed? How many civilizations had been wiped out because they underestimated the small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy? We do not enjoy killing, Chen said, as if reading Veltar's thoughts. But we will not allow anyone to threaten human survival. That is our first and most important law. The evaluation was complete. Veltar had seen enough to know that humanity was unlike any species the galaxy had ever encountered. They were not just powerful, they were utterly ruthless when threatened, and they had the technology to back up their determination. I will recommend immediate full membership, Veltar announced. Good, Chen replied. We look forward to working with the Galactic Council. But as Veltar looked at the human fleet surrounding his ships, he wondered if the Council was ready to work with humanity. These were not the primitive creatures they had expected to intimidate and absorb. These were predators who had clawed their way to the top of the galactic food chain. And now they wanted a seat at the table with the other apex species. The galaxy was about to change in ways no one could predict. 3 days after the evaluation, Veltar found himself in the council chambers on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. Zephyrians, Altarians, crystalline entities, energy beings, and dozens of others. They had all come to hear the report on humanity. The atmosphere was tense. Word had spread quickly through diplomatic channels that something unusual had happened during the human evaluation. Veltar's preliminary report had been classified at the highest levels. Only the council leaders knew what had really occurred. "In that asteroid field, Captain Veltar," announced the council speaker, an ancient crystalline entity whose voice rang like wind chimes. "Present your findings regarding the human application for membership." Veltar stood and activated the holographic display. Images of the human fleet appeared in the center of the chamber. Even as static recordings, the ships looked dangerous and alien. "Honored Council," Veltar began, "I must report that our previous intelligence regarding human capabilities was completely inaccurate." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. The Altarian representative, Ambassador Kethvar, leaned forward in his floating chair. "Inaccurate how, Captain?" "The humans are not a primitive species," Veltar said simply. "Their technology surpasses our own in every measurable category." The chamber erupted in noise. Delegates spoke in dozens of languages, their translation devices struggling to keep up. The idea that a young species could be more advanced than the ancient civilizations of the Council was almost unthinkable. "Order!" the speaker commanded. "Captain, please elaborate." Veltar activated a recording of the asteroid destruction. The assembled delegates watched in silence as the human ships systematically dismantled rock formations that should have taken hours to destroy. "Their weapons operate on principles we do not fully understand," Veltar continued. "They can deliver kinetic projectiles at 30% of light speed. Their missile systems can engage targets at interstellar ranges. Their defensive systems can intercept over 96% of incoming attacks." Ambassador Kethvar floated closer to the display. "These specifications cannot be accurate. No species can achieve such performance." "I verified the measurements personally," Veltar replied. 3 times. The recording continued, showing the human ships performing micro-jumps. Several delegates gasped as the vessels disappeared and reappeared instantly across vast distances. "Teleportation," whispered the ethereal representative. "A being of pure energy contained within a crystalline shell. They have mastered space folding at the micro level. Their ships can appear anywhere within a star system without warning," Veltar confirmed. "They can strike and disappear before return fire is possible." The Altarian delegation was conferring among themselves in rapid, hushed tones. Ambassador Kethvar finally spoke. "Captain, what is your assessment of human military strength?" Veltar hesitated. This was the moment he had been dreading. "In my professional opinion, a single human battle group could defeat the combined fleets of any 3 council members." The chamber fell completely silent. The statement was so shocking that even the translation devices seemed to pause. "That is impossible," declared the Hegemarch of the warrior caste, a massive reptilian being whose species had ruled through military might for millennia. "No single fleet can match the combined power of multiple star nations." "With respect, Hegemarch," Veltar replied, "the human fleet I encountered carried enough firepower to sterilize multiple planets. Their defensive systems could withstand concentrated bombardment from dozens of dreadnoughts, and their mobility allows them to choose when and where to engage." "How many ships did they bring to this evaluation?" asked the speaker. 47, Veltar answered. "And this represents what percentage of their total fleet?" Veltar consulted his notes. They described it as a standard diplomatic escort. Admiral Chen suggested they have much larger forces available. The implications were staggering. If 47 ships constituted a minor diplomatic escort, how large was the human battle fleet? How many such groups did they possess? "What do they want?" asked the ethereal representative. "Full membership in the Council," Veltar reported. "Immediate recognition as a Tier 1 military power, a permanent seat on the Security Council." The Hegemarch laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "They demand what takes most species centuries to earn. What makes them think they deserve such status?" Veltar activated another recording. This one showed the human ship's armor absorbing, plasma fire that should have vaporized it. The delegates watched in stunned silence. "They have earned it through strength," Veltar said quietly. Ambassador Kethvar was studying the tactical data scrolling beside the holographic display. "Captain, these energy readings, they suggest the human ships carry more firepower than our capital planet's orbital defense platforms." "Correct," Veltar confirmed. "Each human vessel is effectively a mobile battle station." "How is this possible?" demanded the crystalline speaker. "Our intelligence networks monitor all developing species. We would have detected such advanced technology." "The humans are exceptionally skilled at misdirection," Veltar explained. "They allowed us to see primitive chemical rockets and simple metal hulls. Meanwhile, they were developing weapons that could destroy our best ships." The ethereal representative flickered with agitation. "This suggests a level of deception that borders on the malicious. I do not believe their intentions are malicious," Veltar said carefully. "But they are certainly cautious. Admiral Chen informed me that humanity has been attacked by 16 different species since achieving faster-than-light travel." 16? The speaker's voice rang with disbelief. "What happened to these attackers?" "Some signed peace treaties after being defeated," Veltar said. "Others were completely destroyed." The chamber erupted again. The idea that a young species had fought and won against 16 different enemies was almost incomprehensible. "Complete destruction?" the Hegemarch asked. "You mean conquered?" "No," Veltar replied. "I mean extinct. Several species no longer exist because they underestimated human resolve." The weight of that statement settled over the chamber like a shroud. Genocide was not unknown in galactic history, but it was rare. Most species preferred conquest to extinction. The complete destruction of multiple civilizations suggested a level of ruthlessness that was deeply disturbing. "They told you this openly?" Ambassador Kethvar asked. "Admiral Chen seemed to view it as a simple statement of fact," Veltar replied. "Humans do not appear to feel guilt about defending themselves, regardless of the cost to their enemies." The Hegemarch leaned back in his massive chair. Even he, a representative of a warrior culture, seemed shaken by the implications. "What is your recommendation, Captain?" the speaker asked. Veltar had spent 3 sleepless days preparing for this moment. His recommendation would shape the future of galactic civilization. "Grant them everything they ask for," he said firmly. "Immediately, without conditions or delays." "That is unprecedented," the speaker protested. "So are the humans," Veltar replied. "Honored Council, we have 3 choices. We can accept them as equals, reject their application, or attempt to delay and impose conditions." "Explain the consequences of each choice," the speaker commanded. "If we accept them as equals, humanity becomes our ally. They will respect Council authority and work within our established systems. This is clearly the best outcome. And if we reject them?" Veltar's expression grew grim. "Then humanity will proceed without us. They will establish their own sphere of influence. Other species will begin to question Council authority when they see that a single human battle group can outfight our combined fleets. And if we delay or impose conditions, then we insult them," Veltar said simply. "Admiral Chen made it very clear that humans do not respond well to perceived threats or disrespect." The Hegemarch snorted. "Are you suggesting we should fear these newcomers?" "Yes," Veltar said without hesitation. "I am suggesting exactly that." The brutally honest answer sent another wave of whispers through the chamber. A council military officer had just recommended fear as a basis for policy. "Elaborate," the speaker demanded. Veltar activated one final recording. This one showed the human fleet's demonstration of planet-cracking weapons. The delegates watched in horror as theoretical calculations showed what those weapons could do to inhabited worlds. "Humans possess the ability to destroy planets," Veltar announced. "Not just life on the surface, but the actual physical world. They developed these weapons to deal with a species called the Devourers." "What happened to the Devourers?" the ethereal representative asked, though its tone suggested it already knew the answer. They are extinct, Veltar confirmed. Humanity destroyed their home world and every colony they possessed. In a single day. The chamber was absolutely silent. The concept of planet-killing weapons was theoretical for most species. The energy requirements were enormous. The technical challenges seemed insurmountable, yet humans had not only built such weapons, they had used them. How many worlds can they destroy? Ambassador Kethavar asked quietly. I do not know, Veltar admitted. But Admiral Chen spoke of these weapons as if they were standard equipment. The Hegemarch stood slowly, his massive frame towering over the other delegates. Captain, in your professional opinion, could human forces threaten Council? Worlds? Veltar met the warrior's gaze steadily. Hegemarch, in my professional opinion, human forces could threaten all Council worlds simultaneously. The statement hit the chamber like a physical blow. The idea that a single species could challenge the entire galactic civilization was beyond most delegates' ability to comprehend. They have 47 ships, the Hegemarch pointed out. That I saw, Veltar corrected. Admiral Chen suggested that was a minor force. He also mentioned that every human pilot is trained in combat operations. Every human ship is designed for warfare. Their entire civilization appears to be organized around the principle of military supremacy. Ambassador Kethavar was reviewing tactical data on his personal display. Captain, if your measurements are accurate, a single human ship could destroy a Council dreadnought. Easily, Veltar confirmed. And they have thousands of such ships? Unknown, but probable. The implications were staggering. If humanity possessed even a few hundred ships like the consequences, they could challenge any power in the galaxy. If they had thousands, they could dominate everyone. What do you believe motivates them? The speaker asked. Survival, Veltar replied without hesitation. Everything about human behavior suggests a species that has been shaped by constant warfare. They think like soldiers because they have had to be soldiers. And now they want to be diplomats? They want to be left alone, Veltar corrected. But they have learned that the only way to ensure peace is to be so dangerous that no one dares disturb it. The ethereal representative flickered thoughtfully. A species that achieves peace through superior firepower. It is pragmatic. It is effective, the Hegemarch admitted grudgingly. No one attacks an enemy they cannot defeat. So what happens now? Ambassador Kethavar asked. Now we vote, the speaker announced. All in favor of granting humanity full council membership with all requested privileges. Veltar watched as hands, tentacles, appendages, and energy signatures were raised throughout the chamber. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The motion carries, the speaker announced. Humanity will be granted full membership in the Galactic Council, effective immediately. As the delegates began to file out of the chamber, Ambassador Kethavar approached Veltar. Captain, do you believe we made the right choice? Veltar looked at the holographic display, still showing images of human ships. I believe we made the only choice that ensures our continued existence. You really think they would have attacked us? No, Veltar said. I think they would have ignored us. And that would have been worse. Ambassador Kethavar looked confused. How so? Because then other species would see that council membership means nothing, that our protection is worthless, that real power lies with humanity. And now humanity is part of the council. Their strength becomes our strength, their enemies become our enemies, and their protection extends to all member worlds. Veltar gathered his reports and prepared to leave. He had one more message to send before his duties were complete. Captain, Ambassador Kethavar called out, what will you tell Admiral Chen? Veltar smiled grimly. I will tell him that the galaxy is honored to welcome humanity as an equal partner in the Galactic Council. And what will you really be thinking? I will be thinking that the galaxy just became a much safer place for anyone wise enough to be humanity's friend. 6 months after humanity joined the Galactic Council, Captain Veltar received an unexpected assignment. He was to serve as liaison officer aboard a human ship. The Council wanted someone with direct experience of human capabilities to observe their operations and report back. The ship was the UES Retribution, sister vessel to the Consequences. Veltar found himself standing in the docking bay of Nexus Prime Station, watching as the massive human warship approached. Even knowing what to expect, the sight was impressive. The Retribution was a kilometer of dark metal bristling with weapons, its hull scarred by battles fought in distant systems. As the airlocks connected, Veltar wondered what he would learn during his tour of duty. The past 6 months had been quiet. Humanity had taken their seat on the Council and participated in diplomatic discussions like any other member. But Veltar suspected there was much more to learn about his new allies. The airlock opened, and Admiral Chen stepped through. He looked exactly the same as he had during the evaluation, calm and professional. "Captain Veltar," Chen said, extending his hand in the human gesture of greeting. "Welcome aboard the Retribution." "Thank you for having me, Admiral. I am looking forward to learning more about human operations." "I think you will find it educational," Chen replied. "We have received orders to investigate a disturbance in the Outer Rim. Several Council worlds have gone silent." As they walked through the ship's corridors, Veltar was struck by the differences from Zephyrian vessels. The walls were thick and heavily armored. Emergency bulkheads could seal off sections instantly. Everything was built for survival under extreme conditions. "Your ships are very robust," Veltar observed. "We learned early that space is dangerous," Chen replied. "Better to build something that can survive than something that looks pretty." They reached the bridge, and Veltar got his first look at human command procedures. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, their actions coordinated but not rigid. Officers made decisions without constant approval from higher authority. "Your command structure is less formal than ours," Veltar noted. "We train our people to think for themselves," Chen explained. "In combat, there is no time to ask permission for every action." A communications officer turned from her station. "Admiral, we are receiving a priority message from the Council." "Put it through." The main view screen activated, showing the familiar crystalline features of the Council speaker. But there was something wrong with the image. It flickered and distorted, breaking up with static. "Human vessels." The speaker's voice was barely audible through the interference. "Council worlds under attack. Unknown aggressors. Request immediate assistance." The transmission cut out. Chen studied the static on the screen with the expression of someone who had seen such things before. "When did that message arrive?" he asked. 6 hours ago, sir," the communications officer replied. "We have been trying to re-establish contact, but all Council frequencies are jammed." Chen turned to his tactical officer. "Any other human ships in the area?" "Negative, sir. We are the only human vessel within 12 parsecs." "What about Council Key?" "Forces?" "The 10th Zephyrian Fleet is approximately 4 days away. The Altarian Defense Force is 6 days out." Chen was quiet for a moment, processing the information. Veltar could see him calculating distances, response times, and tactical possibilities. "Set course for Nexus Prime," Chen ordered. "Maximum speed." The ship began to accelerate, and Veltar felt the artificial gravity adjust to compensate. Through the view screen, stars began to shift as the Retribution built up velocity. "Admiral," Veltar said carefully, "should we not wait for reinforcements? One ship against an unknown enemy seems unwise." Chen smiled that cold smile Veltar remembered from their first meeting. "Captain, you are about to learn something important about human military doctrine." "What is that?" "We do not wait for permission to do what is right." The journey to Nexus Prime took 18 hours at maximum speed. During that time, Veltar observed human preparations for battle. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The crew did not seem nervous or excited. They went about their duties with the calm professionalism of people who had done this many times before. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Armor systems were tested. Battle plans were reviewed and updated. "How many times has this crew seen combat?" Veltar asked. "All of them." Chen considered the question. "Every human ship rotates through active patrol zones. Our people gain experience fighting pirates, raiders, and various hostile species. I would estimate the average crew member has participated in at least 50 combat engagements, 50 battles." Veltar had fought in perhaps a dozen actions during his entire career. But every human on this ship was a veteran of more conflicts than most council officers would see in a lifetime. "Do you ever have problems with crew morale? Combat stress?" "Our people volunteer for military service," Chen explained. "They know what they are signing up for, and we take care of them. Good food, comfortable quarters, excellent medical care. A soldier who is well treated fights better." They dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Nexus Prime system. Immediately, the tactical displays began showing contacts. Dozens of ships filled the screen, but they were not council vessels. "Unknown. Ship types," the tactical officer reported. "Configuration suggests a crystalline technology base, possibly silicon-based life forms." "Any response to our hails?" "Negative, sir. They appear to be jamming all frequencies." Veltar studied the enemy formation. The ships were strange, angular things that looked like they had been grown, rather, than built. They moved in swarms, hundreds of smaller vessels surrounding larger command ships. "Admiral," Veltar said, "there are over 300 enemy vessels. Perhaps we should withdraw and wait for the fleet." "Captain," Chen replied calmly, "please observe carefully. You are about to see why humanity has survived when so many other species have not." Chen activated the ship's internal communication system. "All hands, this is the Admiral. We have encountered hostile forces attacking Council worlds. As the only human vessel in range, it falls to us to respond. I know some of you are thinking that we are outnumbered. You are correct. But remember what we learned in training. It is not the size of the fleet that matters. It is the will to fight." The crew responded with a cheer that echoed through the corridors. Veltar was amazed. These humans were actually eager to fight against impossible odds. "Begin the approach," Chen ordered. The retribution accelerated toward the enemy fleet. As they drew closer, Veltar could see the alien ships more clearly. They were beautiful in their own way, like living sculptures of crystal and metal. But they were also clearly hostile. Energy weapons tracked the approaching human ship. "They are targeting us," the tactical officer reported. "Expected," Chen replied. "Begin evasive maneuvers. Launch reconnaissance drones." The ship began to weave through space, following an unpredictable path that made targeting difficult. Meanwhile, small drones launched from hidden bays and scattered throughout the enemy formation. "What are the drones doing?" Veltar asked. "Learning," Chen said. "Every species has patterns, preferred formations, standard tactics, weapon signatures. Our computers are analyzing their behavior." On the tactical display, the drones were sending back streams of data. The enemy ships moved in coordination, like a flock of birds or school of fish. But there were patterns to their movement, algorithms that could be predicted and exploited. "Analysis complete," the tactical officer announced. "Collective intelligence. Individual ships have minimal autonomy. Destroying command vessels should disrupt coordination." "Target priorities?" Chen asked. 17 ships showing enhanced communication signatures, likely fleet commanders." Chen nodded. "Weapons free. Engage priority targets." The retribution opened fire, but this was not the careful, measured bombardment Veltar had seen during the evaluation. This was warfare at its most violent and efficient. Kinetic rounds punched through enemy shields like they were made of paper. Missiles streaked across space, their smart warheads adjusting course to compensate for evasive maneuvers. Energy beams sliced through crystal hulls, causing catastrophic structural failures. First target destroyed, the weapons officer reported. One of the enemy command ships exploded in a brilliant flash. Immediately, the smaller vessels around it began moving erratically, their coordination disrupted. Second target engaged. Another. Explosion. More enemy ships began drifting aimlessly as their command network collapsed, but the alien fleet was not helpless. Hundreds of ships turned toward the Retribution, their weapons charging for a concentrated assault. Incoming fire, the tactical officer warned. Brace for impact, Chen ordered. Energy beams struck the human ship's armor. The hull glowed white-hot as it absorbed incredible amounts of energy. But the armor held, dispersing the heat through built-in cooling systems. Damage report? Minimal damage to outer hull. All systems operational. The enemy had thrown everything they had at the Retribution. It should have been enough to destroy any ship. But the human vessel absorbed the attack and kept fighting. Their turn, Chen said. The Retribution's main guns rotated toward the largest enemy formation. Veltar watched in fascination as the targeting computers calculated firing solutions for dozens of targets simultaneously. Fire. The space around the human ship erupted with weapons fire. Every gun, every missile tube, every energy projector fired at once. The enemy formation disappeared in a storm of explosions and debris. 17 targets destroyed, the weapons officer reported. Remaining enemy vessels are withdrawing. In less than 10 minutes, a single human ship had scattered an enemy fleet that outnumbered it 300-1. Veltar stared at the tactical display, trying to process what he had witnessed. How? He asked. Superior technology, better training, and the will to fight, Chen replied. Also, we chose our battles carefully. We did not try to destroy every enemy ship. We identified their weakness and exploited it. The command vessels, exactly. Most species that use collective intelligence have the same vulnerability. Cut off. The head and the body dies. The enemy fleet was retreating toward the edge of the system. A few scattered ships remained, but they posed no threat. The battle was over. Admiral, the communications officer called out. I am receiving transmissions from Nexus Prime. Station control is back online. Put them through. The view screen showed a relieved-looking station commander. Human vessel, this is Nexus Prime Control. Thank you for your assistance. We thought we were going to be destroyed. What happened? Chen asked. They came out of nowhere. Hundreds of ships, jamming all communications. They demanded our surrender. When we refused, they began attacking civilian areas. Casualties? Minimal, thanks to you. Your attack disrupted their coordination before they could do serious damage. Chen nodded. We will remain in the system until Council reinforcements arrive. As the connection closed, Veltar found himself staring at Admiral Chen with new understanding. You saved thousands of lives today, he said. We did our job, Chen replied simply. But why? This is not a human world. These are not your people. Chen looked at him with an expression that was both surprised and disappointed. Captain, they are Council worlds. That makes them our responsibility. But the risk was acceptable. That is what military forces are for, to take risks so that others do not have to. Over the following days, as Council reinforcements arrived and the situation stabilized, Veltar learned more about human military philosophy. They did not fight for conquest or glory. They fought to protect, and they were willing to fight anyone, anywhere, against any odds, if it meant saving innocent lives. Your species, Veltar said to Chen on the last day of his assignment, is unlike any other. How so? Most species fight for themselves, for their territory, their resources, their people. You fight for principles. Chen considered this. We learned long ago that if you do not stand for something, you will fall for anything. The Council represents the best hope for peace in the galaxy. We will defend it, even against impossible odds, especially against impossible odds. That is, when it matters most. As Veltar prepared to return to his own ship, He reflected on what he had learned. Humanity had not joined the Council to gain protection or resources. They had joined to provide protection to others. They saw themselves as guardians of galactic civilization. The thought was both comforting and terrifying. Comforting because it meant the Council had gained powerful allies who would fight to the death to defend it. Terrifying because it meant humanity would never back down from a fight, no matter how dangerous. "Admiral," Veltar said as he prepared to leave, "what happens when humanity encounters an enemy they cannot defeat?" Chen smiled that cold smile one last time. "Captain, we have not found that enemy yet. But if we do, I promise you this. We will make them work for their victory." As Veltar's shuttle departed the Retribution, he looked back at the human warship. It was scarred from recent battle, but still deadly, still ready to fight. Like the species that built it, the ship radiated quiet confidence and lethal purpose. The galaxy had gained more than a new council member when humanity joined. It had gained a guardian that would never sleep, never surrender, and never allow evil to triumph unopposed. And for the first time since the evaluation began, Veltar felt truly safe. Not because his own fleet was strong, but because somewhere, in the darkness between the stars, human ships were on patrol, ready to answer any call for help. The age of human protection had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.